new computer's finally here. My new computer's finally here. Hey everybody, welcome to another Top 10 Tuesday on the Motley Stew. It is November 17th. Life in the stew house is still going strong, pretty much the same as it has been for a little while. Not a full night's sleep yet, but that's going to be a while down the road, I think. We got lucky with Logan because he actually started sleeping 6 to 6 when he was about 4 to 5 months old, so that was a huge thing. Now during the day he was a bit harder to work with, but he slept all night pretty quickly. So will the same thing happen with Liam? Fingers and toes and eyes crossed. So as I mentioned at the beginning also that my computer came yesterday. It was awesome. I spent a few hours last night getting everything transferred from my laptop over to the new computer. Still got little tweaks and things I want to do to get it kind of set up the way I want it. And I'm really looking forward to cutting these videos on that computer. Should work a lot faster, should render quicker, should export quicker. All good things. Now, does that mean that these videos are going to become exponentially bigger and badder and more amazing? Hopefully, but not in the near future. Still got a lot of stuff to work out. And lastly, over a week and a half ago, I tweaked my back a little bit when I took Logan to a gymnastics class. And I wasn't doing any gymnastics. I was literally just picking him up and moving him. And it is still bugging me. It actually feels like it's getting worse. I mean, I've been waking up with like less and less mobility. So if anyone has a lower right back muscle that they want to donate, I can give you a P.O. box or something to send it to. Now on to the top 10 list for this week. Movie soundtracks. Now I'm a huge fan of movies, I'm a huge fan of music, so this particular list is hard for me to put together because there are so many movie soundtracks that I like, and these again are in no particular order, but here's what I was able to put together. First, Moulin Rouge. Now there are two reasons why I put this on the list. One, I respect the fact that the actors actually did a lot of the singing, which is a brave thing to do when you're known just for acting and not for singing, and actors who turn into singers get such a hard rap right out of the gate. So I really enjoy the music in this movie, and this was also the movie that introduced Your Song by Elton John to me. I thought they had written that originally for that movie, and then I found out that it was an older song, and that Elton John originally sang it, and it quickly became one of my favorite songs to date. 2. Footloose. Now Kenny Loggins just dominated the 80s soundtrack scene, and you could bring up Caddyshack, and you could bring up Top Gun, but Footloose had everything. Not only did it have multiple Kenny Loggins songs, but the soundtrack from top to bottom really was a solid 80s album. Number 3, this is Spinal Tap. Now this is just an amazing album without the movie, but the fact of the matter is that this album made the movie something more than just a mockumentary, more than just a comedy. It actually made a real band out of a fake band. After the soundtrack did so well, the actors actually got together and went on tour, and they did that for years. On and off, of course, with their acting schedules. But I think this is really the first time that I'd ever heard of a fake band becoming a real band on the strength of their soundtrack. Number 4, Reservoir Dogs. Not only is the construction of the album really fun because you have those little in-between bits from the radio with Stephen Wright, but it was such a great introduction to that era of music, and it opened up doors for a lot of people who had never even bothered to try listening to that. And still to this day, Stuck in the Middle is one of my favorite tracks, not only off that album, but just of that entire era. Number 5, A Hard Day's Night. Now I don't know how you can go through a movie soundtrack list and not bring up the Beatles. Now is the movie great? That's debatable. That's up to the fans. But from the moment you hear the opening chords of these songs, you know what you're listening to, and it just moves you right away. Number 6, Grease. How is Grease not one of the most fun movie soundtracks ever made? And it was also awesome because 20 years later it had this resurgence as someone did a mega mix of 3 of the big tracks from that soundtrack, put them all together, released it on the radio, and suddenly everybody was like, it was Grease fever all over again. And of course, as you get older and start really listening to the lyrics of some of those songs, the movie actually becomes even more hilarious because it's a dirty, dirty, dirty film. Number 7, The Rocky Horror Picture Show. Now the soundtrack is great, the movie is hilarious, it's camp gold, but this deserves a place on the list because forever after that movie got released, it's hard to find a wedding that you don't end up hearing the time warp at some point. And just everybody in that movie is fantastic. Tim Curry, top of the list. Number 8, Beat Street. Now this is probably not a known movie to most people, but in my generation when breakdancing and that kind of era of music was coming out, this movie was the epitome. It was almost done in almost like a documentary style of showing what they considered to be the real life of the rap movement, with a narrative story written in there. But the soundtrack featured the greats of that time. So if you're ever looking for kind of a time capsule of the early rap movement and how strong it was, go check out this soundtrack. Number 9, Tommy. Now I've mentioned before in earlier videos how much I love Tommy and how much I love The Who, but this was the first and still the best rock opera that I've ever been exposed to. And it's just such an amazing ride from beginning to end. And it's one of those moments that just boggles my mind about the musical genius of Pete Townsend. And then while I said earlier that this list is not in any particular order, I did save this particular soundtrack for last because to me it is the best. It is the soundtrack for all other movie soundtracks to try and beat, and I don't think they ever will. Purple Rain. Prince is a musical genius. No matter whether you like him or don't, he is one of the most creative musical minds ever to land on the face of this earth. And I do mean land because that dude's like an alien. I'm pretty sure he's not human. And whatever planet he comes from is purple. But nearly every song on that album is a standout hit by itself. And the reason why I say nearly is because personally, Computer Blues is the only song on there that just never quite connected with me. But everything else, so good. And it's weird because I've been kind of thinking about that movie a lot and thinking I haven't actually watched it in such a long time, and it's made me want to go back and watch the movie again. And maybe I will, whenever I find actual time to do it. So there you go, everybody. That was my top 10 list of movie soundtracks. If you think I missed a particular soundtrack, let me know in the comments down below. I hope you guys have an amazing Top 10 Tuesday. Stay tuned for tomorrow, and as always, be good to each other.